Have you ever wondered where the Indian caste system, a significant part of Indian society, originated from? The answer takes us back to a time when the world was young and societies were just beginning to form, to the age of the Vedas. The Vedas, the oldest scriptures of Hinduism dating back to around 2000 BCE, are our first stop. These ancient texts provide a glimpse into the social structure of the time. They mention a system, not rigid like the caste system we know today, but more flexible, called the Varna system. In Sanskrit, Varna translates to type, order, or class. The Rig Veda, the oldest of the four Vedas, speaks of this Varna system as a division of labor, a system where roles were assigned based on individual skills and qualities. It mentions four Varnas: the Brahmins or the scholars, the Kshatriyas or the warriors, the Vaishyas or the traders, and the Shudras or the laborers. Interestingly, this division was not hereditary. A person was not born into a Varna, but could choose and change his or her Varna based on their skills and inclinations. Imagine a society where you are not bound by the circumstances of your birth, where your future is not dictated by the lineage of your family, but by your talents and your passion. That was the essence of the Varna system, as depicted in the Rig Veda. It was a society that celebrated diversity, valued individual skills, and promoted social mobility. So it seems the roots of the caste system trace back to this ancient time, to this flexible and fluid Varna system. However, the caste system as we understand it today, with its rigid structure and hereditary nature, is a far cry from the Varna system of the Rig Veda. So it was the Vedas that first mentioned a system of social organization, but it was far from the rigid caste system we know today. As time moved on, so did the interpretation of the Varnas. The Varna system, a concept of social order originating in the ancient Vedas, began to evolve under the influence of various factors, one of the most influential being the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita, an important scripture in Hindu philosophy, presented the Varna system in a new light. It justified the Varna system as a divine order, arguing that individuals were born into their respective Varnas based on their inherent qualities and deeds in past lives. This interpretation solidified the Varna system as it provided a divine rationale for the division of society into different groups. However, the Bhagavad Gita didn't advocate for a rigid hierarchy among the Varnas. It encouraged individuals to fulfill the duties assigned to their Varna, emphasizing that all Varnas were important for the functioning of society. But over time, this philosophy was twisted to justify a hierarchy, leading to the stratification of the Varnas into a rigid caste system. This shift towards a more rigid caste system was further consolidated with the rise of Pushyamitra Sunga, the first Brahmin king. His reign marked a significant shift in the power dynamics of society. The Brahmins, who were traditionally scholars and priests, now held political power as well. This shift in power had a profound impact on the social order. The Brahminical order, with its emphasis on ritual purity and social hierarchy, became dominant. This consolidation of the Brahminical order led to increased rigidity of the caste system. The Brahmins began to assert their superiority over the other Varnas, and over time, their dominance became institutionalized. The caste system, which was initially a flexible division of labor, became a rigid social hierarchy. The roles assigned to each Varna became hereditary, and mobility between the Varnas became almost impossible. The Bhagavad Gita and the reign of Pushyamitra Sunga marked a significant shift towards a more rigid caste system. The evolution of the Varna system into a rigid caste system was a complex process influenced by religious doctrines and political shifts. The repercussions of this evolution can still be felt in Indian society today. As the Brahminical order consolidated, so did its influence on various regions, including the Tamil land. This was a period of significant transformation, as the Brahminical way of life began to permeate the local Tamil society, redefining its social, cultural, and religious landscape. The Brahmins, traditionally known as custodians of knowledge and ritual, began their journey to Tamil land around the 3rd century BC. Lured by the fertile lands and the promise of patronage from local rulers, they ventured southwards. Their arrival was not an invasion in the traditional military sense, but rather a cultural and religious influx that would leave an indelible mark on Tamil society. In their new environment, the Brahmins did not isolate themselves. Instead, they actively engaged with the local populace, infusing their Brahminical ethos into the fabric of Tamil society. This engagement was not without friction, as the Brahmins and the native Tamils had different religious beliefs and social structures. However, the Brahmins held a strategic advantage. They were well versed in Sanskrit, the language of religious texts and rituals. This linguistic prowess, coupled with their role as intermediaries between the gods and men, helped them slowly assimilate into and eventually dominate the religious landscape of Tamil land. The local religious practices of the Tamils, which were largely based on nature worship and ancestor veneration, started to be taken over by the Brahmins. Temples, once the hub of local deities and community gatherings, began to be controlled by the Brahmins. They introduced elaborate rituals and ceremonies, which were performed in Sanskrit, furthering their control over the religious domain. This process of Brahminization was not just limited to religion. The social structure of Tamil society also underwent significant changes. The Brahminical Varna system, where society was divided into four main categories, started to replace the existing social order. This led to the solidification of the caste system in Tamil society. The Brahmin invasion of Tamil land was a significant event that further solidified the caste system. It was an era of profound change, where the local Tamil society was reshaped under the influence of the Brahminical order. A historical event that continues to influence the socio-cultural dynamics of the region to this day. The Vijayanagara Empire marked another crucial period in the evolution of the caste system. This South Indian empire, which flourished from the 14th to the 16th centuries, played a significant role in further institutionalizing the caste system. The empire's social structure was a complex web of hierarchy, with the caste of an individual determining not just their social standing but also their economic and religious status. During this period, rulers of the Vijayanagara Empire, in a bid to maintain order and control, further reinforced the caste system. They used it as a tool of administration, assigning roles and responsibilities based on caste. This led to a system where your caste dictated your occupation, your social interactions, your marriage prospects, and even the deity you worshipped. The caste system during the Vijayanagara Empire was far more rigid than what it had been in earlier periods. This rigidity was partly due to the administrative necessity of the empire. With a vast and diverse population to govern, it was easier for the ruling class to maintain control by slotting each individual into a predetermined caste. Moreover, the caste system was not just a socioeconomic construct, it was a religious one too. The Brahmins, considered the highest caste, were the custodians of religious rites and rituals. They held a monopoly over education and knowledge, making them powerful influencers in society. However, it was not just the Brahmins who held power. The Kshatriyas, or the warrior class, were also influential, often serving as rulers and military leaders. The Vaisyas, or the merchant class, controlled commerce and trade, while the Shudras, the lowest caste, were relegated to menial jobs and manual labor. The caste system, thus, became an intricate social and religious framework that touched every aspect of life in the Vijayanagara Empire. It was so deeply ingrained in society that it influenced everything from interpersonal relationships to political alliances. By the time of the Vijayanagara Empire, the caste system had become an integral and rigid part of Indian society. It had moved beyond a simple division of labor and had become a defining characteristic of Indian civilization. The caste system as we know it today has a long and complex history. It all began with the concept of Varna in the ancient scriptures of Vedas. Initially, Varna was simply a division of labor and was flexible. People could move between different Varnas based on their skills and interests. It wasn't a birth-based system, but rather a profession-based one. As we move forward in history, we come across the Bhagavad Gita, where Lord Krishna articulates the duties of each Varna. However, the Gita, much like the Vedas, doesn't advocate for a birth-based system. Yet over time, these flexible divisions hardened into a rigid structure. The first significant shift towards this rigidity can be traced back to the time of the Brahmin Pushyamitra Sunga. The Sunga dynasty, under Pushyamitra, saw the adoption of Varna as a birthright, making it a more stringent system. The Brahmins, traditionally considered the scholar class, started to assert their superiority over other Varnas, shaping the caste system into a hierarchy. Fast forward a few centuries to the Vijayanagara Empire in the south of India. The empire, while promoting art and culture, also further entrenched the caste system. It was during this time that the Brahmins invaded Tamil lands, bringing with them the rigid caste system. The Tamil religious practices, which were largely egalitarian, were overtaken by the Brahmins, causing a major shift in societal structures. Finally, we arrive at the present day, where the caste system, despite numerous reforms and laws, remains deeply rooted in Indian society. What started as a flexible labor division system evolved into a rigid social hierarchy over centuries, influenced by various historical events and invasions. The caste system, as we see it today, is a result of this historical evolution and the societal norms of different eras. Understanding the evolution of the caste system helps us understand its deep-rooted presence in Indian society today.